Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tearing through the stacks of research you shared with us to confront, well, one of the most painful realities of our time, societal division.
Right.
We're talking political polarization, social fracture, and the incredibly powerful influence social identity has on how we choose sides.
And our mission in this deep dive is really to tackle that foundational question. Is it too late? I mean, are we just destined to repeat this cycle of rise and fall?
Right.
The sources are pretty clear that a country's ability to be a beacon of hope is severely compromised when its own citizens just intensely dislike each other over different perspectives.
And we should set the context here. This isn't just a U.S. problem, even though we often focus on American politics.
Not at all. So many nations are struggling with this. Intense internal divisions, cultural shifts.
And the political weaponization of identity.
Absolutely. And the pattern is really the same everywhere. We are all susceptible to manipulation by people seeking power or profit. And, that manipulation thrives when we're polarized and distrustful.
It just fuels conflict. It makes a simple disagreement feel like an existential war.
Exactly. And that gets right to the heart of the crisis your sources define. This idea that rigid ideologies and tribal loyalties are pushing us toward dangerous extremes.
The core problem being this fusion of social identities and politics into this mega identity.
Yes. When your political label becomes your entire social identity, you just automatically get an us versus them mentality. It thrives in echo chambers because, well, you become almost incapable of empathizing with the other side.
Let alone understanding them.
Right. And unless we can break that fusion, our ability to solve massive problems it's just severely compromised.
Okay, let's unpack this then. One of the most fascinating things in the source material is the shift in American political affiliation. We hear it all the time. Politics is less about specific issues and more about just choosing a team. You're either red or you're blue.
And the NYU philosophy professor Kwame Anthony Appiah, he really distilled it. He said, all politics is identity politics.
And there's research that actually shows why that focus is so corrosive.
There is. Liliana Mason, a professor at the University of Maryland, did a crucial study called Ideologues Without Issues.
Ideologues without issues. Okay.
Yeah, and her work distinguishes between two types of political belief.
Okay, walk us through those.
So she looks at issue-based ideology. That's, what you actually believe about specific policies, tax rates, environmental rules, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then she looks at identity-based ideology. This is just the simple fact that you identify as a Democrat or a Republican.
And what did she find?
She found that the identity-based part is a far, far more potent predictor of social distance and negative feelings toward the other side.
Wow. So if I identify as Team Blue, my really negative emotional reaction to Team Red is driven mostly by the fact that they wear the other jersey.
Exactly.
Not because I disagree with some nuance in their tax plan.
Precisely. The tribal identity is the trigger for the hatred, not the legislation. The social identifying role is paramount.
Which would explain why people can have really complex, sometimes even contradictory views on policy, but they stick rigidly to their political team.
Because that identity dictates their whole social world, their self-worth even.
But wait, if they don't actually know the policy details, how do they decide which team to join? Is it all just social media?
A lot of it is social sorting. We literally sort ourselves into communities now based on politics, where we live, where we shop, who we're friends with.
The mega identity in action.
Exactly. And the consequence is devastating. When all our energy is spent just criticizing and labeling the other, finding common ground on real problems, infrastructure, housing, it becomes almost impossible.
It just confirms that old Henry Adams quote, politics as the systematic organization of hatred.
It feels chillingly relevant today.
And psychologically, there's a huge personal stake in this for all of us. The deeper we fall into this team dogma, the harder it is to change your minds.
Because it doesn't just feel like admitting your opinion was wrong.
Right. It feels like admitting your entire identity, your sense of self, is fundamentally flawed.
And if your beliefs are who you are, then any disagreement feels like a direct attack on your existence.
Okay, so that's the psychology. But here's where we get into the really deep historical roots of all this. Spencer Critchley's work, which you shared, outlines this fundamental tension in American thought that's been there, like right from the beginning.
Yes, this ongoing philosophical tug of war. And it manifests today as our political extremes. It's this tension between the Enlightenment and the counter-Enlightenment worldviews.
So let's start with the first one, the Enlightenment adherents.
Yeah.
These are the thinkers who shaped the Constitution, right?
Right. For them, it's all about science, reason, individual rights, and the rule of law. That comes first.
And they imagine what Critchley calls a civic nation.
Yes, a nation built on a social contract. We all rationally agree to give up a little liberty for the benefits of a society based on laws. Anyone can be American, basically, as long as you buy into the shared principles.
So one side says, we are a nation of laws and shared agreements. What does the counter-enlightenment focus on instead?
Well, this group sees a focus on pure reason as limiting. They argue you can't run a healthy society just on rational self-interest. You need the glue of culture, art, tradition, spirituality.
Shared history?
Shared history, yeah. So they often subscribe to the idea of an ethnic nation, one rooted in a common culture or religion. And it's important to say Critchley acknowledges many thoughtful people hold this view. The tension itself is actually necessary.
But that necessary tension has a mus canny. It's metastasized.
Into dangerous tribalism, yes. The sources are very clear. On one side, you see the rise of white supremacists and religious zealots.
And on the other side?
On the other, the material notes a rise in identity policing, endless litigating, political correctness, and punishing people for not being woke enough.
So these historical philosophies have just devolved into two hostile tribes that threaten the whole democratic process.
That's the core argument.
It sounds like we've defined the fault lines. But let's zoom out. If these divisions have always been there, is our moment now truly unprecedented?
That is such a crucial question. And while it feels like the nation's never been so split, the U.S. has always had deep division.
I mean, the Civil War.
The Civil War, the intense unrest of the 1960s. I mean, those moments rival what we're seeing now. The perception that this is the worst it's ever been might just be a narrow historical view.
That makes sense. But something is different now. Something is amplified.
Oh, absolutely. The sources point to the sheer reach of social media, higher education levels, globalization. The constant rapid flow of information means every single fracture is highlighted instantly and perpetually.
And we can't forget the long-term root causes that have been neglected for decades.
Right. This isn't just about the last election. We're dealing with the enduring legacy of race, the way capitalism has evolved, huge economic inequality, religious intolerance.
And the politicization of the media with alternative facts.
Which just tears up the foundation of a shared reality.
And on top of all that, we have these massive external forces coming at us. Declining birth rates, artificial intelligence, climate change, mass migrations.
These are challenges that demand unity and collaboration, but we are more rigid and fragmented than ever.
Which brings us to how we as individuals can respond. It transitions us to the idea of resilience. Senator John McCain, back in 2018, he said, "We weaken our greatness when we confuse our patriotism with tribal rivalries."
We weaken it when we hide behind walls rather than tear them down. A powerful statement.
It is.
And resilience is the key here. It's not just about bouncing back. Research defines it not as a trait you're born with, but as a dynamic process of adapting to stress and trauma.
It's something you cultivate.
Through your thoughts, your actions, your behaviors.
Yes.
We've seen it collectively, right? After 9/11 or during the COVID pandemic.
Right. And to build that mindset individually, the sources detail the 5 C's of resilience.
Let's run through them because they are actionable. First is competence. Having the skills to succeed, which in this context really means mastering critical thinking.
Okay, competence.
Then confidence, just believing in your ability to face challenges. Then control, recognizing what you can influence and what you can't.
And connection.
Crucially, connection, those social bonds that give you support and perspective. And finally, character, having a strong moral compass to guide you under pressure.
That connection piece feels so vital because it reminds us that division itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. It comes from diversity, from the melting pot.
Exactly. Our different experiences are supposed to lead to different views.
The danger isn't the difference. It's our inability to compromise and empathize.
This is a crisis of empathy failure, not intellectual failure. We have to swing that pendulum back toward civility.
So how do we actually start that process on the ground?
One of the best models discussed in the material is from David Blankenhorn's nonpartisan initiative, Better Angels.
Right.
They facilitate these red-blue workshops designed specifically for civil dialogue between conservatives and progressives.
What happens in those rooms? I mean, what do they find when they actually force these two sides to listen to each other?
His main takeaway is incredibly hopeful. He says, "We're less divided than we've been told."
Really?
Yes. When people meet face to face, they realize the caricature of the other side is just wrong. He says people are heartsick about the demonization and they genuinely want change.
So you don't change your mind about the policy, but maybe you change your mind about the person.
Exactly. You change your mind about the character of the person holding the opposing view.
And that process has to start with us, with the listener, developing new coping skills.
It does. We need new tools. Studies show our feelings follow our thoughts, so we can control our thoughts, we can influence our actions.
And that means building mental discipline.
Yes. The two essential skills are mindfulness, so you can discern when you're actually thinking for yourself versus being manipulated, and relentless critical thinking.
Differentiating fact from fiction and cultivating empathy over that knee-jerk hatred.
That's it.
Okay, so let's get really practical. The sources give 3 powerful, actionable steps for you, the listener, to bridge these divides. What's number 1?
First, people need to feel heard. An MIT study showed that when people from opposing sides just got a chance to fully explain their perspective—
Not just debate talking points.
no, but to articulate the values and personal stories behind their beliefs, significant positive attitude changes happened. We need to create those spaces. Town halls, small groups, whatever.
The goal is validation, not conversion.
Right. Which leads to the second and probably the hardest step.
Which is?
Actively reach out to the other side. It's hard because our identity groups make us overconfident and encourage dehumanization. But true power, the ability to get others to collaborate, it grows from connection and understanding, not dominance.
And the final step shifts the focus away from identity and back to results.
Third, focus on solving problems, not winning debates. The instinct is always to attack the other position. We have to stop and establish a process first. Identify the underlying needs of everyone involved.
Are they worried about money, about cultural erosion?
Exactly. Address the root need, not the political talking point. And you can find common ground. It's like Henry Ford said, coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success.
So after all this,
Yeah.
what does it all mean? We've seen polarization is driven by identity, it's rooted in philosophy, it's amplified by media. But at the end of the day, unity isn't about agreeing on everything. It's about empathetic understanding, respect, and a willingness to compromise.
Like J.K. Rowling said, we are only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided.
Yeah.
But while we've focused on what individuals can do, we have to address the culture. It's incredibly hard to change if the broader group doesn't reward new behaviors like listening or compromising, and instead rewards anger and loyalty.
And in this rapidly changing world, the most critical advantage, the key to survival, is agility. The ability to change and adapt.
And the sources suggest we might be at a point where small changes aren't enough. That revolutionary cultural change might be necessary just to preserve our way of life.
This feels like a profound, teachable moment for our culture.
It's a critical choice. We either evolve rapidly, cultivating empathy and critical thought, or we risk revolutionary solutions that will just divide us even more.
Which leaves us with the fundamental question for you to think about. Do the foundational documents and the core American values of the past still fully apply, without adjustment, in this crazy, shifting 21st century?
Or is it time for us, the people, to realign or maybe even design a new collaborative vision for the very soul of America?